Well, hello YouTube. We have ourselves an assembly video ahead of us. Here we have a Staples brand office chair. It's model number 21076 Osgood office chair. It's a black in color, bonded leather seating surfaces. Now of course this here chair, I've been on the Staples website and I've read some of the reviews. I've read, of course, the good and bad that people have said about it. One of the biggest things people have said repeatedly is the assembly process is very interesting. Sometimes there are flaws in the construction of the chair that don't work well. And it's best to have two people to help assemble this chair, because sometimes you gotta push and pull and put the little bolt or nut, whatever it is, on at the same time. Pretty much it sounds like every other office chair that I've ever put together anyway, so it's really not much difference. So of course, let's get this down on the floor, cut her on open, and do an inventory on all the pieces. Okay, so cutting into it now. Of course, if you're using a knife, don't cut too deep. Keep in mind there is, well, your chair right below the surface, and it would suck to cut it before you get a chance to use it. They do put a cardboard protector strip just to help guard against that, but I've seen it where some chairs don't. And the stuff is right there, virtually touching the bottom of the box. So take that one piece out. First piece to come out is, well, the arms. Got another piece of cardboard, flip it on up, and you see the top and bottom sections of the chair. Looks like you got your caster wheels right here. That box there is your cylinder, and looks like your hardware package as well. This is your bottom, base of the chair that the cylinder goes into and the wheels are on, which of course attaches to the bottom of the seat part of the chair. We'll take out the bottom of it. No, holes or damage. Take out the high back top. Again, looking for holes or damages. Looks like we're okay on there. Checking the bottom of your box to make sure nothing's left in there. Last piece to come out, of course, is your swivel base that pretty much bolts onto the bottom of the chair. That makes it go up and down and swivel back and forth. So of course I'll inspect all that stuff for any damage. Make sure it's not cracked or broke or so, unpackage it all. Then we'll start the assembly process. Okay guys, so of course got everything all unpackaged, unwrapped from the box and all that. The only damage I see in the whole entire thing is there's some marks on the base of the chair here. I'll just see if I can zoom in for you. Now if you can kind of see right there, there's some dark black marks. Pretty much it looks like the adjuster, the one that goes between the cylinder and the seat, sat there and scratched onto there for whatever every time it was jiggled and moved. So far that's all I can find for the damage. And this is your hardware pack right here with the instructions as well. It's labeled here. You got Part E, Step 7, Part D, Step 6, Part B, Step 5, Part B, Step 3, Part C, and Step 3, Part A. So let's cut out the instructions and see what they say. Now, of course, some people don't like to read instructions. They kind of just wing it. But sometimes they end up, succeeding with flying colors. And sometimes they end up failing, end up having to tear apart the chair or whatever they're building and having to redo it. Sometimes it sticks up where they shouldn't and end up, of course, breaking a wrong bolt in a wrong hole, overdriving it and ending up with larger troubles. So it just takes a minute, read the instructions, and then, hopefully it ends up helping you out. So of course, part 1 here pretty much says to put the wheels onto the base and put the cylinder into the top of the base. Most office chairs will get you to start the assembly process doing that. So what I like to do is turn, of course, the base, upside down. Pretty much you just take your first caster wheel. Now sometimes you do need a bit of persuading, or sometimes they actually just drop right in, because they are got that little groove with that ring. There's a corresponding groove in the base, the hole there, and they pretty much mate together. Now I'm not 100% sure whatever happens if the time comes that you need to replace these wheels. Do you just go down to Staples and buy more? Or do you have to do something a little different? Some of these wheels are kind of a one-time in wheel. They're not really meant to go in and out. So once you got the wheels on and the base uprighted, pretty much time to install the cylinder. Now if you're like me, when you pulled the cylinder out of the box, the cups or the covering stayed on inside, and then now you end up with 3 pieces that you have to deal with. So what I would do is I would put the cylinder in the chair. Then I would take cup number 1, which is the biggest, slide cup number 2 in it, and then cup number 3, which is of course the top. And then that's basically what you got right there. Of course, this is not really a mandatory thing. You don't have to have these cover on it, it just makes it pretty. So now the base is together, we go and we attach the bottom mechanism to the base of the seat. So of course, this is what we got for the seat, a cushion. Now they want you to attach the little lever mechanism, the one that raises it up or down. Now one thing nice is on this chair here, they have put a front label to tell you which side is front. So pretty much, of course, you mark the front and the front together. Drop it all into place. You go back to the instructions. And in the instructions here, of course, it says you're on step number 3, so you need 3C and 3A for the bolts. The cushion itself is, I guess you could call it 3/6, and the mechanism itself, I guess you could call it 3/4. So once you got your bolts and your Allen wrench all dug out, or hex wrench, however you want to call her, all dug out of the hardware package, pretty much, of course, the longer bolts go at the front of the chair because there are little plastic spacers between the mechanism and the base, like the cushion. And the short bolts go at the back of the chair because, of course, there's no spacers back there. Now when you're starting these here bolts, pretty much what they are is they're a hex head with an Allen key center. Do not cross thread these because, well, they won't rethread nice, and they will be a huge pain to pretty much remove and replace. Some of the online reviews that I read did complain about these blind nuts or T-nuts that are in the furniture, Sometimes they claim that the nut itself was defective. However, coming from personal experience in other chairs, sometimes it has a lot to do with how you put this bolt in for the first few threads. If you tend to cross thread it and force it in, then of course this little blind nut or T-nut is going to strip out, break, jam up, and you will have larger trouble than just a broken office chair. So guys, what I'll do is I'll run this stuff in and get her tightened on down, and then we'll come on back for the next step. Okay guys, so I got those bolts about 99% all the way in. I just want to give them one more little snug down just to make sure. Now of course you're not dealing with automotive or aircraft tightness or tolerances here, so you don't have to have them super tight. But at the same time, you don't want them to be loose and have them back on off. So of course, now that mechanism is attached to the base, pretty much they want you now to attach that to the bottom of the chair, the one that we just struggled to put the wheels on. Now usually what I end up doing is skipping that step and going to attaching the arms themselves onto the base. I find it a little more easier to do it that way than having to fight with a rolling base on top of your work surface. Now if you were doing this on the floor, it might work a little better for you, but we're doing it this way, and this is the way that seems to work for me in the past. So what we'll do is flip this back upright. Pretty much now you get a look at the seating surface. Seems to be a little bit of discoloration over here in the corner. So of course, let's dig out the bolts and the arms and then take it from there. So looks like we're on to step number 5, if you want to say. And we need 4 of the B screws there, as well as left and right arm. Okay guys, so here we go. Of course, a little bit of a deviation from what the instructions said to do. I've done this method several times on other brands of office chairs, and it works well for me. Now, I show you a photo here and kind of explain what I did. Now you see I've got the back laying flat on the top of the chair. Well, what I've done is I've lined up the top bolt hole with the corresponding hole in the back of the chair. And you put that bolt in, which always seems to go in very well. Then you basically, using that top 2 bolts as a hinge bolt, you swing it back upright and then put the bottom bolt in. And if you have to not flex it so much but push or pull it a bit, the top bolt will act as a bit of a hinge and give you the leverage you need to get her done. So of course, once you've got all the bolts in, what I would recommend doing is going back over all your bolts that you've done, making sure they are tight. I still say a lot of the problems that people have with the furniture, regardless of what brand, what store, what company, what model, all that stems directly back to the assembly of the product. Because if the assembly is not done right, then of course the product itself is going to fall apart. I don't know how to explain it properly, but even the office chair that this one is replacing did need another tightening after a year of use. Even though it was tightened by me, and I know darn well I had those bolts tight, and they should have been good to go according to the manufacturer's instructions, I still had to go over and redo them again. So of course you have your 4 bolts on the bottom and pretty much your 8 bolts on the top. Like I said, go back over them, make sure they're good and tight, and then she should be good to go. So the last step in the assembly process, once you got the bolts all tight, is to put these little plastic caps on. Now, as a bit of a rule of thumb that I found, that if these plastic caps do come loose and fall off, check the bolt that's underneath, because on the chairs that they have fallen off of, quite often that bolt was loose by a turn or three. Now you can keep them from falling off is put super glue, crazy glue, some type of adhesive on them, but if you ever need to tighten your bolts again, they won't be accessible to get at to tighten them. So pretty much, guys, now that it's all done, let's put it on the floor, give her a once around, and well, see what happens. So guys, in its fully lowered state, you're looking at about 43 inches from the ground to the top of the back of the chair for height-wise. And then of course, when you raise it on up, it goes from 43 inches and now we're at 47 or so inches there. So of course, my first impressions of this here chair, it does have probably an aluminum or a very, very cheaper metal type of base. The arms themselves don't feel like a metal. They're more like a composite material, like a plastic or so. The bonded leather material does have a bit of a leather smell, but it's not nearly as chemically as some of the reviews made it out to be. Of course, the caster wheels are plastic wheels. You may want to change them out if you're on a laminate floor surface or waxed floor, because sometimes those wheels tend to tear up the flooring, but a lot of us have those desk protectors underneath our desk and it works fine for us. Of course, looking at the stitching looks well. The padding in the seat, the padding in the back, and the armrests are fairly decent. Again, of course, over time, the padding will pack down. They always do. And, the stitching, if it's poor, will let go, which they always seem to. So, of course, in the future, I will do a follow-up review of this here chair. And we'll show you what it looks like, 6, 8 months, a year, whatever it is later. And for the price of the chair, I believe the regular price of this here chair was $243. I got it for a sale of $100 off, so $143 is not a lot for an office chair. There were some there that were $300-400 plus, there. So this one here is a reasonably priced office chair compared to some of the other ones. But pretty much, guys, that's been an assembly of a Staples brand Osgood model number 21076 office chair. And as always, thanks for watching Maxwell's World. Comment, subscribe, and enjoy.